Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, and you?
Fine.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, hello.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Hello.
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 Remember
Hello.
those of you who can turn on the camera? That's a lot better, at least for a few minutes, yes? If it consumes too much internet and then you want to turn off the camera, it's okay, but at least at the beginning, yes, it's better if I can see you. Great. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention something, yes, because someone contacted me, but on behalf of several people in the group, asking me about the book and everything, and I just a second that I'm admitting some more people into the meeting. I know that you're very busy. I know that this is the busiest time of the year and everything, okay? The thing is that in this subject, we should be reading more. I know, it's neither your fault nor mine that we have started classes in the middle of the year, right? That's why we are not going to read. If you check in the introduction of the platform, you have the syllabus. And according to the syllabus, we should be reading some more books that we are not going to read. We are only going to read this one, okay? Because in the final exam, then closer to the date I will tell you, but one of the parts is that I will ask you a couple of questions about either the book or the short stories from the cradle to the grave that you were asked to read when there was no teacher yet, okay? General questions, okay? I'm not going to be asking for details, but as regards the book that we are reading now, that as I posted in the class, and I posted the class yesterday to make sure that you could all, like, if you were panicking about not finishing reading for today, yes, that's why I posted it yesterday. I'm giving you one more week to finish that first part, okay? And remember, because a couple of classes ago we mentioned this, that there is on the one hand intensive reading and there is on the other hand extensive reading. When you have intensive reading, that are the reading activities that are included in some classes, there you have to be more concerned about understanding most of the words, especially because the questions that you could get in the comprehension could be, related to some words that you don't understand. But in this book, that I'm sure that you're finding a lot of new words because it's very descriptive, the idea is that you should read and try to understand the general idea. You should not stop to look up every word that you don't know. That's not so useful. You will see, if you trust the process, that as you continue reading, there are going to be many words that at the beginning you didn't understand, and that then you're going to understand. Maybe you will not know the word in Spanish or the exact translation, but you will understand the concept, okay? And this is a lot more useful than looking for the translation, for example, okay? These words that you can figure out from the meaning as you advance in the story, these are words that your mind absorbs automatically, okay? And they become part of the vocabulary that you have of this second language, okay? Then next week, we are going to devote our class to talking about, maybe next week or the following, we are going to have 2 meetings. I know, we already talked about this, it's complicated because like some people can one day, other people can on another day, but well, but the priority next week will be to discuss the first part of the book, to make sure that you all understand the general idea of what is happening, about the main character, where the story takes place, what the plot is about, what the problem is, the things that we can find out, okay? As the most important, to have like like a guideline in which we can follow the story of Winston, the main character, okay? So I wanted to say that because maybe some of you are going crazy looking up words. You don't need to do that. Maybe a word that completely obscures the meaning and you have no idea what they're saying, well, you can look up a few words, but just a few. In the rest, keep reading. That then the story, the facts of the story will make everything clearer and you will understand more. Also because you know that this is science fiction in a way, maybe now not so much. You know that the book was written in 1948. The author, George Orwell, made a very chilling prediction of what the future was going to be like. Okay, so the fact that it is science fiction also makes it a little harder to understand because there are words that are included there that are in newspeak, in a language that does not really exist. Okay, that's why my advice is keep reading, because then a lot of things are going to become clearer as you advance in the story. Okay, so now I'm going to share the screen so that we can analyze our sentences. If we have time at the end, we have some sentences from the writings. Most of the writings were a lot better than the first ones. In just a few cases, I made some comments. We have to keep working on punctuation, and there are a few other comments. But basically, in general, they were a lot better, okay? I don't know if you check the activities for this week. This week you have like a guided writing. You have all the facts. What you have to do is to put them together, while at the same time practicing ways of looking. So we are trying to also enrich your vocabulary. Okay, someone is texting me here, right? Okay, so let me share the screen. And we'll go. Remember, when I am sharing the screen like this, I only get to see 4 of you. So if you do this, I might not see you because I only see 4 of you. So if you have something to say, just interrupt, no problem. So the police have caught the young burglars. Do you remember what the starting point is in syntactic analysis?
To identify the subject and the predicate.
Okay,
the main verb.
Okay, very good. To identify subject and predicate, the first thing we have to do is to identify the
Verb,
main verb.
yes.
Exactly. Yes, great. So, what is the verb?
Caught.
Okay. So this, in fact, is a verb phrase. Yes? Why is it a verb phrase?
Because it has an auxiliary before it?
Because it has more than one word.
More than one.
Okay.
When you have, I don't know, the subject, for example, that again, the subject is like one thing in the sentence, but it contains 2 words, so it's also a phrase. So what is a subject?
The police.
The police.
Okay, this is the subject, and the rest, excuse my untidiness, this is the predicate, okay? Now, the second thing that we were doing was trying to identify what type of verb it was, right?
Yeah.
So if we say the police have caught, is that sentence complete?
No.
No.
No. So, what does it have afterwards?
A direct object.
Perfection.
Very good, a direct object. Remember that the direct object is the person or the thing that is affected by the action.
Yes.
Okay? So in this case, the young burglars is a direct object. Okay, great. And if we have a direct object and nothing else, what type of verb is it?
A transitive verb.
Very good, a transitive verb
Predication.
of
Incomplete
Complete
predication.
Complete predication.
complete predication. Very good. But before we write that, we are going to analyze a little the structures here. Let's start with the verb phrase. In the verb phrase, we have, and we have caught. Caught is the main
Verb.
verb. Main verb, okay? You have to bear in mind here, this is very important, that the main verb is always a finite verb. Finite means that it is conjugado, okay? So, and now here, yes, we write the main verb is a transitive verb of
Complete predication.
complete
predication.
predication. And what kind of verb is have?
Auxiliary.
for perfection.
Excellent. It's an auxiliary verb of, you can write just auxiliary or you can write auxiliary of the perfect tense. Okay? Very good. What about the subject? What is this?
Determiner.
Okay.
Noun phrase.
Okay, very good. Remember that we go from the biggest structures to the smallest. So first we give a name to the two words. As we said before,
A noun phrase.
excellent. We said that phrase is a group of words that contains more than one word, okay? And why is it a noun phrase?
Because the head is a noun. Police.
Fantastic. When you have a phrase, yes, you have to think of the most important word, the head, el núcleo, for those of you who remember syntactic analysis from secondary school, yes? And in this case, for example, the head is a noun, right? And because the head is a noun, it is a noun phrase. And what is the? Before you tell me that it's a determiner, but inside the structure of the phrase.
A pre-modifier.
Modifier.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's a pre-modifier. Yes, pre-modifier. And now, yes, below that, we write that it is a determiner. Okay?
Yeah.
By the end of the year, I will be able to write in a more or less intelligible way.
I was going to tell you something. Maybe if you use PowerPoint, it's easier because you can maybe it's just a suggestion.
I will try. I was thinking of Paint, but for example, with Paint, I cannot have here, like here, maybe yes, in PowerPoint that I have different slides. Here, I like this because it's like I
Yes,
erase
you
the
have
book and
different
I start again.
And instead of writing with the mouse, you can like put some text box, and
Yes.
maybe it's easier for you.
Yes, you are right. Thanks.
No.
Okay, what about the young burglars? What is that?
Noun phrase too.
Again, it's a noun phrase, yes? The direct object, pay attention to one thing, yes? Because otherwise you could get confused. Here, I wrote subject at the top, predicate at the top, and all the rest below the sentence, yes? And here I wrote direct object, okay? And below direct object, I am going to write that this is a noun phrase, okay? In the subject, I wrote noun phrase here because I had already written subject at the top. But the order is that first you identify subject and predicate, then the function in the sentence, yes, verb, direct object, indirect object, subject complement, adverbial adjunct, etc. Below that, we give a name to the structure, not to the function in the sentence, but to the structure. In this case, noun phrase. And below that, we analyze the structure of that, okay? In this case, of the noun phrase. So first, we're going to say, what is the head of the young burglars of this phrase?
Burglar.
Very good.
Burglars.
Burglars is the head. Okay? What is the and what is young?
Pre-modifier.
Modifier.
Very good. Very good. They are both pre-modifiers. And below this, what are we going to write?
Determiner. Adjective.
Adjective.
Very good. Determiner, adjective, and
Noun.
noun. Fantastic. Any doubts in this sentence? No? Okay, let's move on. So remember, I mean, you have to be very organized with the analysis so that you don't leave anything out. Remember that we go from the biggest structures to the smallest until we end up analyzing the words. In the second sentence, the young man didn't like the movies. Yes? The young man didn't like the movies. Yes, here I cannot write the text because it goes somewhere else. So, what is the first thing that we do?
Subject and
Identify the
verb.
verb.
For the
Verb.
verb.
So,
Didn't like.
very good. This is the verb phrase again. Yes, the verb phrase. And now that we have identified the verb phrase, we can identify the subject and the predicate.
The young man,
Very good. The young man
the subject.
is the subject. Perfect. And didn't like the movies is the predicate.
Predicate.
Great. At the point, we are analyzing very simple sentences in which we have all the subject together and all the predicate together. Yes? It's not always like that. We will come across sentences that are a bit more complex, okay? That's why it's important to be organized and to always start from there. Now, the second thing we do is to say, okay, the young man didn't like the movies. In the verb phrase, what is the main verb?
Like.
Like.
Very good. This is the main verb. And if I say the young man didn't like, is that complete?
No.
No. So what do I need?
A
A
direct
direct
object.
object.
Very good. So if I have a direct object, what type of verb is it?
Transitive verb.
Transitive verb.
Predication.
Very good. Transitive verb of?
Complete predication.
Predication.
Fantastic. Transitive verb of complete predication. Excellent. And what is didn't?
Auxiliary verb.
Carrier.
Okay.
Empty
An empty
verb.
carrier.
Careful there, because there we have two things. In fact,
An auxiliary for negation.
we,
And
we have did, that is, what is did?
an empty
An
carrier.
empty carrier.
Very good.
An auxil-
Instead of saying empty carrier, you call it auxiliary. It's okay. If you remember empty carrier, it's better, but it's a type of auxiliary, okay? Empty carrier. And in fact, not is, and we have to point this out here, it's an adverbial adjunct of
Negation.
Or
excellent.
negation.
Adverbial adjunct of negation.
Negation.
And what type of word is it?
Adjective. No.
We said that it's an adverbial adjunct of negation.
An adverb.
Another.
Very good. If it's an
Adverb.
adverbial adjunct of negation, it's an adverb. Perfect. Very good. Now, the young man. This is a subject. What structure is it?
Noun phrase.
Fantastic. Noun phrase. What's the head?
Man.
Man.
Good. Man is the head. What type of word is it?
Noun.
Now.
Noun. Excellent. What about young and the? What are they?
Three
Modifiers.
modifiers.
Fires.
Very good. Pre-modifiers. And what is the?
Determiner.
Determiner.
Very good. Determiner and?
An
Adjective.
adjective.
Determiner.
Okay, what is young?
Adjective.
Adjective.
Ah, very good, yes. Adjective. And now we have to analyze the movies, the direct object. What do you call the name of the structure?
Noun phrase.
Noun.
Noun phrase.
Fantastic. What's the head?
Movies.
Movies.
This is the head. This is the pre-modifier. This is a determiner. This is a noun. Okay?
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. This is very similar to the first sentence. Now the next one is a little different. The girl in the red dress is my niece. What's the first thing we do?
Identify the verb.
What is the verb?
Yes.
Very good. So on the basis of that, we can say that what is the subject?
The
The
girl
girl
in the
in
The
red
girl in
dress.
the red dress.
Very good. This is the subject. And all the rest is a predicate.
Predicate.
Fantastic. Now, in the girl in the red dress is my niece. Can I say the girl in the red dress is?
No.
No.
No. What is my niece?
Subjective complement.
Complement.
Excellent, excellent. This is something that you should always remember because the verb to be is always, always what type of verb?
Intransitive verb of incomplete predication, but intransitive.
Intransitive verb of incomplete predication. So it will always take a subject complement. So here I write main verb. This is the first thing that I have to write, main verb. And then below that, I write that it's an intransitive verb of incomplete predication.
Incomplete.
Very good. And because we identify this, we already know that my niece is a, we said,
Subjective
Subjective
complement.
Complement.
subjective complement. Fantastic. What structure does it have?
Noun
Noun
phrase.
Noun
phrase.
phrase.
Noun phrase.
Very good. And in that noun phrase, we have, as in the previous ones that we analyzed, we have a head, that is a noun, and the pre-modifier, that is a,
Possessive
Possessive
determiner.
determiner.
Possessive pronoun.
it's a possessive adjective, but again, it's a determiner. Remember that possessive adjectives, the same as articles, they are determiners, okay? So I don't write this here because we already analyzed this structure many times. Let's go and analyze the girl in the red dress. What kind of structure is it?
A noun phrase.
Noun phrase.
Very good. It's a
And
noun phrase, but this one is a little different. What is the head?
yes.
Girl.
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 Very good. The head is girl, and of course it is a noun. We already know what this is, right?
Yes.
What is it?
Pre-modifier.
Pre-modifier.
and
Pre-modifier.
determiner.
Pre-modifier, and below that I have to write that it's a determiner. Now, in the red dress, what is that?
A prepositional
All
phrase.
modified.
Positional phrase.
Okay, but prepositional phrase comes here. Here I write prepositional phrase. Yes? Well, that is prepositional phrase. Okay?
It's a post-modifier.
Ah, okay, okay. Remember that first we have to identify the function in the sentence. Excellent. It's a post modifier. Yes, it's a post modifier. Remember that is the first thing that you have to identify, the function in the sentence. It's a post modifier. Now, yes, it's a prepositional phrase. Very good. So what is the head?
In.
In. Very good. The head has to be a preposition. If we are talking about a prepositional phrase, the head is a preposition. Yes, very good. And what is the red dress? What is the function of, I know it's a noun phrase, but what is the
Complement
Complement.
Excellent.
of the preposition.
Excellent. You see how this is, do you know these Russian dolls that you have one inside the other? Well,
Yes.
exactly like that, okay? It's exactly like that. We are breaking the sentence down into pieces. And first, always the first thing we do is to analyze the function in the sentence, and then the structure, and then what each word is. So in this case, the red dress is a noun phrase, but before we say noun phrase, we have to say that it is a complement, yes, in the prepositional phrase. Okay? Well, and then yes, we would say, okay, that complement is a noun phrase, yes, that has a head, that is the dress. Look at, I mean, imagine when you're writing this on paper, which you are probably doing now, you need to leave a lot of space from one sentence to the next, because look at what happens here, yes? You have like 6 lines of information below you. Dress is the it's the head, yeah? This is the head, and of course it is a noun. and then we have read, and they are pre-modifiers, okay? They is a determiner, and read is an adjective, okay? And here, the analysis is complete. This is everything that you have to analyze in a sentence. Yes? At this point, it's not very difficult, I think. It is a bit confusing if you don't follow a certain order. So for next week, I included 7 sentences to continue practicing this, the basic order in which you have to analyze it. And then in 2 weeks, we are going to start analyzing sentences that will be a little more complicated. But first we need to practice this, okay, so that you can organize your mind. And now the next one that is a little bit tricky. The ancient trees of the forest were cut down. Verb.
Where?
Were cut down.
Yeah.
Were or were cut down?
Were.
Were cut
cut
down.
down.
It's passive voice.
Yes.
So the 3 were cut down together
Yes.
with the phrasal verb.
This is a, yes. At this point, we say that this is the verb phrase.
Oh,
Then we will split it into parts and we will say, where is what?
intransitive verb.
What do you think is the main verb here? Where or cut down?
Cut down.
At.
Cut down. So this here is an empty carrier that signals passive voice. And this is very important. The first, and I included this sentence on purpose. You say, okay, this is passive voice. So we will have to consider a couple of things. First of all, when we analyze the verb phrase, we have to realize that where is not the main verb. Yes? Ouch, sorry. That where is not the main verb, but it's an empty carrier. So if you, at the very beginning, you read all the sentences and you say this is passive voice, you already know that the verb to be there will be an empty carrier, okay? So you could write here at the side, yes, passive voice, for you to remember, because this is going to have an impact in another part of the analysis as well. So cut down is the main verb that is a main verb.
Transitive phrasal verb.
Very good. It is a transitive phrasal verb. Of complete predication. So again, you say, but why transitive if we don't have an object here? But
Because
Because
the object
The
is in
object
the
is
active
the ancient
voice.
trees.
exactly, that's why I told you that it's so important to identify that it's passive voice. Because if you identify that it's passive voice, you already know. On the one hand, you know that the verb to be will be an empty carrier and not the main verb. And second, you will already know that the verb is transitive, because you can only have passive voice with transitive verbs. So even if what I'm going to mention now is something like you don't need to worry about, just for you to know that people who study grammar in depth, who are devoted to that, analyze sentences in what is called surface structure and deep structure. Yes, deep structure is what is generated in our minds. It's like our minds think of the sentence in a way, and then we accommodate it depending on the context, depending on the emphasis, etc. So, but deep down, we know that this verb is transitive because that we know that the receivers of the action of cutting down are the ancient trees of the forest. Even if, for a question of style or emphasis, I decide to put it in the position of subject. But the meaning is the same. We are changing the style, we are changing the focus. It's valid, it's perfect, but in the structure does not change. We have a verb that indicates an action, and we have something that is affected by that action, okay? So that's why the verb is transitive, okay? And that's why I insist that the first thing that you should do is read the sentence, and if it is a passive voice sentence, mark it, because this will have an impact on your analysis of the verb phrase, okay? So, what's the subject?
The ancient trees of
Ancient
the forest.
Trees of the forest.
Very good. Very good. For the purposes of our current analysis, this is the subject and where cut down is the predicate. We have already analyzed the predicate, so now we are going to analyze the subject. The ancient trees of the forest. What is that?
Noun phrase.
Excellent. Again, we have a noun phrase. What is the head of that noun phrase?
Trees.
Very good. This is the head. We have two pre-modifiers, right? And we have, what is of the forest?
A prepositional phrase.
Okay, but what is the structure?
Post modifier.
Very good.
Modifier.
Remember to be organized
Yeah.
here, yes? Head, pre-modifiers, post-modifiers, etc. Very good, post-modifier. Very good. And now, yes, below this, we are going to analyze in depth. The head, we said, of course, is a noun. The pre-modifier here is an adjective, and the pre-modifier here is a determiner. And now, yes, if we analyze the post-modifier, now, yes, it is a
prepositional phrase.
very good. Now, yes, it's a prepositional phrase. And what is the head of that prepositional phrase?
Of.
Of is the head, which of course is a preposition. And what is the forest?
A complement.
A complement.
Excellent, it's a complement in the prepositional phrase. And what is it? The complement is, what structure does it have?
Noun phrase.
Prepositional
phrase.
phrase.
Very good, it's a noun phrase. And again, we have forest is the head. It is a noun, yes. And there is a pre-modifier, it is a determiner.
Oh.
Okay? So, great. Any doubts about this? No?
No.
Okay. Well, I wanted to discuss these 4 sentences from the writings, because in the writings I correct most of the mistakes or I make some comments, but sometimes I come across sentences that I think is useful to share. Yes? After telling a couple of horror stories, they refused to sleep in their tents. No, wait a second. After telling a couple of horror stories, they refused to sleep in their tents. No, but this sentence is correct. Let's go to the other 3, and then if we have time, I want to say something about this one. But let's start with this one. Not only did his beard seem strange, but his voice also.
Word order, but also his voice.
Okay, very good. Here, not only, you know that when you start the sentence with a negative construction, it is okay to use inversion. So this part is perfect. Yes? When you use not only, you should use but also together. Yes? But also together. Not only did his beard seem strange, but also his voice. Is that complete?
But also, no, but also did his voice.
Yeah,
Right?
did.
But also
No.
his voice did
No?
at the end.
Okay. Very good. The inversion comes only at the beginning after the negative construction. Inversion here is okay, but after but also we don't use inversion.
Okay.
But what I'm going to say is very important because this appears everywhere. These kinds of constructions, not only but also like both and, either or, neither nor, they are called correlative constructions because it's like they divide a sentence and you have 2 parts, the part of both and, neither nor, either or, not only but also, you have like 2 parts of the sentence, and those 2 parts have to have the same structure. If you have a phrase, you have to have a phrase. If you have a noun phrase, after not only, you have to have a noun phrase. After, but also. So what do you have after not only? What construction do you have? Did his beard seem strange? Is that a phrase? Is that a phrase?
Yes.
No, because we have a subject and a verb there. So what do we call that when you have something inside a sentence that has a subject and a verb?
A clause.
A clause. Very good. You have a subject and you have a verb. So after but also, you also need to have a subject and a verb. So not only did his beard seem strange, but also his voice sounded weird, for example. Yes, you can change the words, but the structure has to be a clause. Okay? Clear?
Yes.
So remember these correlative constructions, okay? And what I have just explained is called parallelism or parallel structure, okay? The fact that when you have these correlative constructions, you need to have the same structure in the two parts, okay? Any doubts so far? What about the second sentence? The third sentence. The creature opened its mouth. That surprised me. One thing I wanted to say in the writing is you need to pay attention to capital letters because some people are very informal and they don't write capital letters. It was not the case of this one because this one was in the middle of the sentence. But in general, even the I in a lot of writings was not with capital letters, okay? So pay attention to that. So the creature opened its mouth. That surprised me. What's the problem here?
The comma.
The comma is okay. Because I could say the creature opened its mouth. So I'm just adding something. But can you use that in relative clauses when you have a comma?
Which?
Which? Do you remember defining and non-defining relative clauses? The non-defining relative clauses are between commas because they add extra information, and in non-defining relative clauses between commas, you cannot use that. Okay? So here what you have to use is which. Okay? This, in fact, apart from being a relative clause, is what is called a sentence modifier, because which surprised me was not the mouth. This is not modifying the noun that comes immediately before. This is modifying the whole previous idea. So it's called a sentence modifier. And sentence modifiers can be introduced with which or with an ing form. Okay? I know that there are two more sentences, but we are going to deal with them. Don't worry, we're going to deal with them next week. Because, I mean, I want you to focus on what I have just explained, okay? Both correlative constructions and parallelism, and on the other hand, using which or ing forms to introduce what are called sentence modifiers, okay? So, for next class, yes, the priority is the book. Next class, we are going to discuss the book. Okay? With syntactic analysis, I'm giving you a little more time to get used to the process. And then in 2 weeks, we are going to make it a little more complicated by adding some more things. Okay? Any doubts?
Okay.
No.
About the writing.